Hello again everyone and welcome back to another video from Old Frames Gaming. I'm your host BK and I want to extend a very humble thank you to all of our new and returning viewers. I'm incredibly thankful for your continued support of the channel and the various formats which are featured here. This series of videos will be showcasing Premodern from the late February meetup at Dragon's Den. The second round features David on Survival Elves versus Shane on 4-color Oath of Druids. Let's jump into the deck techs and check out these amazing lists. First up is David's Survival Elves list. This deck can deliver a beating in short order due to its extremely efficient mana creatures, backed up by a full playset of Gaia's Cradle to churn out an army of the Forest Dwellers over the course of just a couple of turns. Between Llanowar Elves, Findhorn Elves, and Priest of Titania, working in tandem with Wirewood Symbiote and Quirion Ranger to cheat even more on mana, opponents will be staring down a wide battlefield of squirrels set loose by deranged hermits super fast. Factor in how Survival of the Fittest can search up several silver bullets like Nantuko Vigilante, Yavimaya Granger, Well-Wisher, and Masticore. David can cover nearly any matchup he encounters with answers to all kinds of problematic permanents. To top it off, Kamal Fist of Krosa acts as a repeatable overrun effect, ensuring that your attackers will definitely land a thunderous punch. And if that wasn't enough, Tangle Wire is in the mix to trip up your opponent's board state as well. The sideboard proves to supplement that game plan further, with Tranquil Domain and Naturalize to fight out enchantment-based strategies, Goblin Sharpshooter and Collar of the Claw to push through removal, Call of the Herd to add yet another early aggro plan, Tormod's Crypt for the graveyard-based decks, and Winter Orb to work alongside Tangle Wire to wreak even more havoc with mana bases. Finally, he's included a couple of Biorhythm as a surprise way to lower an opponent's life total or even just win all out against creatureless or near creatureless decks. This deck has it all, and it's terrifying. Next up is Shane's Oath of Druids list. Let's take a peek and see what he's brought to the table for the night. This unique build of Oath of Druids offers a multitude of ways to help control the early game and continuously cycle through itself until it can finish off the opponent. Shane has control elements via Counterspell and Mana Leak, as well as board removal via Wrath of God, Akroma's Vengeance, and a Singleton Cataclysm. Some more pointed removal rests in Seal of Cleansing and Swords to Plowshares, a card that is seeing its stock rise more over time in Premodern. Enlightened Tutor can help find the pieces, such as Oath of Druids or perhaps even Sylvan Library for card selection, or possibly even Standstill to help opponents reconsider whether or not they want to play that next spell. His finishers consist of Phantom Neshoba, a creature with life-gaining effects to stifle any Sly or Burn decks he might encounter, as well as Treetop Village and Mistress Factory, lands that can animate into creatures and can be difficult to remove at times. And Decree of Justice can pump out a huge number of Soldier or Angel tokens to get to that win. Lastly, 2 Gaia's Blessings ensure Shane doesn't deck out while setting up. The sideboard has plans to deal with graveyard strategies via Tormod's Crypt and Phyrexian Furnace, which can cycle for another card at worst. Chain of Vapor and Constant Mist help temporarily delay problem permanents or fend off an opposing army of creatures. And you can add Crater Hellion to the mix as yet another sweeper as well. Disenchant and Naturalize supplement the main deck Seals of Cleansing. Curse Totem can help shut down creatures until he finds removal. And lastly, Worthy Cause and 2 Ancestors Chosen can shore up the red matchups where life loss can be tough. Overall, Shane appears to have considered nearly every angle of the metagame and has come prepared for battle. With the deck text complete, let's jump into the gameplay and watch these two battle it out. And here we are with our 2 players for this round 2 in this event. David is going to be on the left-hand side of your screen and Shane on the right. Shane has won the die roll, and both players have opted to keep their opening 7. Shane is going to lead off on Brushland and pass the turn to David. David draws for the turn, finds a forest, and goes ahead and plays it. And he's going to pass the turn back over to Shane. Shane taking a look at a new one off the top. It looks like he's peeled a Yavimaya Coast, but opts to play Island. He's going to take 1 point of damage here and land Oath of Druids. And with that, he's going to pass the turn back over to David. David's added a forest to the board, and looks like he is going to play Survival of the Fittest. So both these players with their signature cards online so far. Shane draws for the turn. He finds a Swords to Plowshares, and he's going to go ahead and play out that Yavimaya Coast. So all his colors still online here. These two looking like they're just trying to set up for the long game here. David adds a mountain to the board, as well as a Tangawire. So that's going to come in with 4 counters. No response from Shane here. He's going to tap all 3 of his lands on his upkeep. And he has peeled a Mistress Factory, which he's going to go ahead and add to the battlefield and then pass back over to David. Tangawire is going to tick down to 3 counters. So David's going to tap it as well as a couple lands. He adds another forest to the board. And he's just going to opt to pass the turn here. So with 3 counters on, Shane is going to have to tap 3 of his lands. So he does so. And he's going to go ahead and draw for the turn. Looks like he has found a Mana Leak. He's going to go ahead and play and crack a Windswept Heath and go searching for a forest or a plains. Shane has found a plains and is going to go ahead and put that into play. Looks like he's going to animate that factory. He's going to send that 2/2 assembly worker on into the red zone, taking David down to 18 life. So at the end of Shane's turn, David's going to cycle Masticore. Or I'm sorry, a Wirewood Symbiote. He changed his mind. And he's going to go searching for something else here. He's found an Anger, so he's going to go ahead and cycle that as well and go search for another creature. And he's found Squee Goblin Nabob. So Squee has this interesting triggered ability where during your upkeep, if it's in your graveyard, you can return it to your hand. Obviously, that works incredibly well with Survival of the Fittest, giving you a repeatable tutor. And here these players have moved their dice onto the mats so we can easily keep track of life totals here. Shane just reminded David that he had one more card hanging out there. Having cut the deck, upkeep, Tangawire is going to tick down to 2 counters. So that's going to prompt him to tap Tangawire and a mountain. Drawing his card for the turn, David weighing out his options here. He's going to add another forest to the board. So all his creatures are going to have haste now because he's met the conditions for anger, it being in the graveyard, and controlling at least 1 mountain. David likely weighing out his option as to whether or not he wants to play a creature to the board and trigger that Oath of Druids or not. This is a heavy decision. He opts just to pass the turn. So Shane's going to have to tap 2 permanents during his upkeep now. Looks like he's going to opt for the island. Still thinking over the second one. Nope. We're going to rewind that and opt for the 2 pain lands in Brushland and Yavimaya Coast. So he goes ahead and draws for the turn. He finds another island. Passing the turn back to David. Tangawire is going to tick down to 1 counter. So no longer under the gun with that. David finds a Wooded Foothills. And he's going to discard Squee to the survival and go searching for another creature. Looks like he may be considering Deranged Hermit, but likely unaware of the mana leak and the 1 to 2 Swords to Plowshares in Shane's hand. He opts for Nantuko Vigilante. Probably a better play here. Looks like he is trying to set up to get rid of that Oath of Druids on Shane's side of the battlefield. So Shane's going to cut here. David's going to go ahead and crack that Wooded Foothills, go to 17. He's going to go looking for likely another forest here, which he does find. So now he's going to shuffle and cut. Shane has the answer in Mana Leak, though, but I think that he may have not tapped enough mana to do that, because I believe the Morph would have to be 3 mana, and it looks like he may have only tapped 2. Well, it looks like he's going to pay the 3 for the Mana Leak, but I think that was a play mistake here. So on upkeep, Shane's going to have to tap 1 permanent on his side of the battlefield. He opts to tap Mishra's Factory. So Oath is going to trigger, and Shane's going to go looking for a creature here. He finds Phantom Neshoba. So that's going to come into play with 7 counters, and it has a pseudo lifelink type of ability. Shane draws for the turn. Looks like he's found a Chroma's Vengeance. Probably not very useful at this particular point in time, but we do have Swords to Plowshares to answer that Nantuko Vigilante. So David going to gain a couple life here and go to 19. Tangle Wire is going to lose its last counter. Oath of Druids is going to trigger. Two Gaia's Cradles go to the bin, and David finds Finehorn Elves. So he's going to go ahead and draw for the turn. Going to go ahead and add Llanowar Elves to the board as well. Now all these guys have haste, so we're going to add a couple more mana here for Priest of Titania, which that's going to add 1 green for every elf in play. And now we have Wirewood Symbiote, which is going to allow him to kind of cheat on his mana a little bit. Returning forest to untap creatures, I believe, is how that works. Or returning creatures to untap a forest. So many I can't keep track. And it looks like David has found a Multani's Acolyte, which he's going to play and draw a card off of. Alright, so we're going to return the Acolyte to untap a creature. Okay. Going to add 3 mana to the mana pool. Play it again. Draw another card. So David's going to have, I believe, 1 green floating here. Appears to be some discussion about the board state. So 2 green, 3 green, and a red. 4 mana for a Masticore. So that's going to trigger Oath. Shane's going to go looking. It looks like he's flipped over at least 1 guy's blessing, a second one there. So that's going to trigger and shuffle everything back in. And he finds a second Neshoba, which he's going to go ahead and add to the board. And with those blessing triggers, he's going to go ahead and shuffle everything back together. So Shane's going to be taking a draw here momentarily. He's found another Windswept Heath, which he's going to add to the battlefield. And it looks like Phantom Neshoba is going to come across into the red zone. David is going to return Multani's Acolyte and add a bunch of mana with Priest of Titania and block and regenerate the Masticore. So that's going to remove 1 counter from the Neshoba because it has a strange ability that allows it to remove a counter in lieu of taking damage. So Shane's going to gain some life here. Looks like he may be considering playing either a Chroma's Vengeance or a Wrath of God here, because this board state is almost insurmountable. So Shane's going to go ahead and pass the turn back, and David's going to get rid of that Tangle Wire as it's gone, and he's going to go ahead and return Squee, which he's probably going to cycle here momentarily to go and get something. Well, he's moved it to the forefront. Not sure what exactly happened there. But nonetheless, he draws a card because Oath's not going to trigger for him. He has more creatures than Shane. Counting up his mana here to see what we can do. Now it looks like we're going to start playing some more creatures. Two green, going to play that Acolyte back out and draw another card. Going to add a ton of mana with the Priest of Titania. Return Acolyte and untap Priest. Play Acolyte again. At this point, I've lost track of how much mana is floating in that pool, but it's got to be a ton. Counting it up once more. He's got to have at least 1 million mana in his pool at this point. Looks like we're using Masticore's ability to try and ping down this Phantom Neshoba. It looks like he has successfully done so. Gonna crack a Wooded Foothills here. Looks like he's at 15 life. The die is just slightly off screen. We find another forest. So David going to shuffle up here and present for a cut. Looks like he is weighing his options on attack, but declines to do so and passes the turn back over to Shane. So Oath of Druids going to trigger here, I think. I think it's a must, not a may. Shane taking a look at his hand before he does anything. So we're going to Swords to Plowshares, or at least attempt to do so. It appears on the end of David's turn. And that is going to resolve and send Masticore into the exile zone. Shane's going to go back up to 19 life here. That's going to go ahead and flip the entire library yet again. Of course, the Blessings triggers are going to shuffle all that back in. Shane offering the cut to Dave. He's going to go ahead and shuffle up. So drawing the card for the turn. Looks like he's added an island to his hand. I'm going to go ahead and play that. Come across into the red zone for 6 with that Neshoba. Well, that's going to gain him 6 life. He's going to go up to 26. David's going to go down to 13. Shane's going to go ahead and crack that Windswept Heath and go looking for another land. He's found another Plains. And Shane thinking it over here. Is this the time to hit the reset button and start over? That anger is still going to be in the graveyard, so that could be problematic. So David is going to go ahead and return Multani's Acolyte to his hand via that Wirewood Symbiote. So all those creatures are going to go to the bin. And Shane passes the turn. At the end of the turn, David's going to go ahead and cycle that Multani's Acolyte to Survival the Fittest. And he's going to go looking for a creature. It looks like Shane may not have gained that life due to some trigger there. I missed that. So if you caught it, Let me know in the comments what it was. David's searching up something here. Potentially game ending. He hopes, at least. He's found, I believe that was a deranged hermit. So that could hit for, what, 9, I think? 4 2/2s and then the 1/1 itself. So David gonna untap here. He's gonna return Squee to his hand and draw a card. Shane over there shuffling back and forth between a second copy of Oath of Druids as well as that of Chroma's Vengeance. Counting out the mana here. Looks like he's got 7, possibly 8 available to him. It's hard to tell if there's 4 forests in that second stack at the top of the screen or not. So 3. Nope, changing her mind. Going to go ahead and cycle Squee yet again. We find a Wirewood symbiote. Shane cutting after the shuffle. David passes the turn. So Shane finds a card that I am unfamiliar with. He's going to go ahead and animate that Mistress Factory and come across for 2, sending David to 11. So inching a little bit closer to a win. That appears to be an impulse. An alternate art or a newer art. David returning that Squee to his hand during his upkeep. Likely looking for some kind of way to one-shot this thing. Probably through some method of getting 2 deranged hermits into play. It's got a grip full of cards. Counting them up here and seeing what we can do. Surely he's got some action he can take here. I'm almost certain of it. Too many cards in hand. So he opts just to discard Survival the Fittest and pass the turn. So at the end of the turn, Shane is going to impulse, take a look at the top 4, and pick his favorite one among them. Looks like he's found Counterspell, Mana Leak, likely Adakar Waste or Flooded Strand, and a Gaia's Blessing. So we're going to opt to take Counterspell here and put the other 3 on the bottom. Shane untaps for the turn. Going to move to draw step, take a look at a fresh one off the top. It looks like he has peeled a Phantom Neshoba, which he likely is just going to go ahead and play. I think he's got enough mana to do it. But instead we decide we're going to animate Mistress Factory and come across for 2, sending David down to 9 life. At the end of the turn, David's going to go ahead and cycle that Squee Goblin Nabob one more time. Looks like he's found another symbiote. Again, likely looking to try and get a couple of deranged hermits into play to end this thing on the spot. Upkeep, Squee is going to return to hand. David's going to draw 1 card for the turn. Adding 2 mana to the pool here. And here comes Priest of Titania. Adding 2 more to the pool. Here comes Maltani's Acolyte. So now we have 2 elves available to us. Wirewood Symbiote joins the mix. And there's Well-Wisher. So looking to gain some life, it appears. Shane doesn't really like that, so he's going to go ahead and counterspell it while it's on the stack. I don't blame him. That could put some things out of reach very, very quickly. So here comes 2 mana off of the Priest and another Wirewood Symbiote. And there is Deranged Hermit. Shane correctly reminding him here that Priest only adds for the number of elves and not all green creatures. Now trying to figure out what we're going to do with this floating mana. Just going to go ahead and replay that Acolyte. I'm just going to allow him to draw 1 more card. Here comes 2 more mana. Not sure where the 3rd came from. So both of the Wirewood Symbiotes have been used. Here comes Acolyte down 1 more time. I'm going to draw us 1 more card. And cycling Squee once more. And we find another Priest. Alright, so it looks like we are still on that Deranged Hermit plan. Trying to just one-shot Shane here. So he's going to go ahead and pass the turn back over to Shane after a convoluted turn. Oath of Druids is going to trigger here. But that's going to flip the deck because he has 1 to Shoba in hand and 1 in the graveyard. But everything is going to shuffle back in. Alright, so Shane takes his draw for the turn. Looks like he's found a Wrath of God. That could stretch out this game 1 even more. Staring at a Chroma's Vengeance as well. He's thinking it over real hard here. Is this the time to do it again and reset this board? Looks like we might have Wrath of God inbound, and it is. So that's going to clear all these creatures one more time. Shane's going to go ahead and use the Symbiote's ability at the in response, because you can use it once each turn. He's going to return that Priest of Titania. Everything else is going to go to the bin. So now we're going to go ahead and animate the Mistress Factory and come on across for 2 more, sending David to 7. Shane passes the turn. David's going to untap. Shane with 2 mana available to him here. Squee is going to return to the hand. And David draws a new card. Alright, adding 5 mana to the mana pool. And here comes Deranged Hermit. Along with 4 squirrel friends who are all 2/2s now. And a second one. Somehow, I'm not sure how that happened. Or maybe he's discarding to find something else. That appears to be what's going on here. I don't think a second one's being added to the board. Oh, he's got a Gaia's Cradle off camera there. Okay, so that was hidden by the battlefield. Sorry about that. So he did, in fact, have enough for the 2 Deranged Hermits and a third. So now with 12 squirrels, all being 4/4s, I believe. Looks like he may be considering an option for Kamal here. Just to make sure he nukes it from space. But it looks like he's going to go with a safer option, I suppose. Or a cheaper one at least. Well, here comes Acolyte. He's going to draw a card off of that. And looks like David is going to send the team. Shane does not have an answer. So that is going to end this furious game 1. That was a long one, folks. Glad you hung in there with us. We're going to give these players an opportunity to sideboard and shuffle up. And we will join them in game 2. And here we are in game 2 of this round 2 matchup between these 2 titans. Shane is going to be on the play. He is taking a mulligan to 6 cards, I believe. And David is going to take a mulligan to 5. So he is choosing his 2 cards and settling on 5 to keep for this game 2. Shane leads off on Treetop Village and passes over to David, who finds a forest and says go. Shane's found another Treetop Village, and he quickly passes back to David, who finds a forest, taps 2 for a Priest of Titania, and then passes turn. Shane has now found a Mistress Factory. He's going to add 2 mana to the pool and land Oath of Druids. So, going to put David under some pressure here to find an answer. Here comes Wooded Foothills to the board. Two mana for his, what is likely, yes, Survival of the Fittest. So David going to go ahead and crack that Wooded Foothills and go to 19. He finds his mountain. Shane going to cut off of David's shuffle. Looks like there was a little mix-up with one of the cards there. Looks like Well-Wisher got revealed. So we're just going to shuffle up again to randomize everything. David adding 2 mana to the mana pool. That is a Multani's Acolyte, and it requires 2 green. So we are sorting that out. Instead, looks like we're just going to pass the turn. All right, so Oath is going to trigger here. Shane's going to go looking for one of those Phantom Nishobas or any number of the sideboard cards that he might have brought in to help with this matchup. We've got at least one Gaia's Blessing trigger. So Crater Hellion's going to hit the board and deal 4 damage to all the creatures involved here, which is going to put Priest of Titania in the bin. Likely no feasible way to pay the echo cost on that Crater Hellion, so that thing is probably going to go to the graveyard next upkeep, but that's okay. We at least answered the board for now to try and stifle some of that mana production. So Shane draws for the turn. He lands a forest. Looks like we're considering coming across with a Treetop Village, maybe? Yes, we are. So going to crack in for 3, sending David down to 16. And ending the turn. So David's going to untap here. Oath is going to trigger if he wants it. Yeah, it looks like he's gonna. And first card off the top, Wirewood Symbiote. David draws for the turn. Thinking pretty hard about this. Here comes a Cradle. That's going to add 1, 2 mana, 3 mana. Maybe not. Maybe just 1. Or maybe none. Alright, so 2 mana. Here comes Multani's Acolyte. Paid for correctly this time, no doubt. David's going to add 2 mana to the mana pool. Or not. Alright, so probably considering returning this to his hand. So I'm going to add 2 mana to the mana pool. Return Acolyte to hand using the Wirewood Symbiote's ability. Using 1 green mana to pitch the Acolyte and go searching for some variety of creature here. Looks like Squee is the chosen one at the moment. That's going to go to the bin with the 2nd green mana to that Survival of the Fittest. And looks like we found Finehorn Elves. It looks like David has done all the searching he wants to do. He is passing the turn back over to Shane, who is going to activate his Oath of Druids, or trigger his Oath of Druids off of that symbiote. We've found a Phantom Nishoba. Shane goes ahead and peels a fresh card off the top of the library. He is checking out the board state and trying to decide how he wants to approach this. Likely activating that treetop village again. Or not. Giving it some careful consideration here. So here comes treetop village. David's going to go to 13. And Shane is passing the turn back. So on upkeep, Squee is going to return to hand. David finds another forest to add to the battlefield. Going to go ahead and send Squee to the bin one more time and take a look at what we have available to us. We find Anger, which we're also going to promptly bin and go looking for something else. Looks like the choice is Priest of Titania. So that could likely give him a huge mana advantage here. So Priest is going to go ahead and hit the battlefield. Can only add 1 mana at the current time, but Cradle adds 2. So there's 2 mana. Rewinding. 1 mana. Finehorn Elves. Alright. So now Cradle will produce 3. But the Finehorn Elves has haste due to the Anger and the Mountain. So we're going to use Wirewood Symbiote here. We're going to untap the Priest. I'm going to play it out again. So 2. There's another Priest. 3, 4, 8. Deranged Hermit with 3 mana floating. So now we got an army of squirrels. And David said, well, that's enough for me. You can go ahead and go. So at the end of the turn, Shane is going to play Impulse. He's going to take a look at the top 4 and see if he can't find some way to answer this sudden army in a can. He's chosen Seal of Cleansing to add to his hand. And he's going to untap. Oath of Druids is going to trigger. We found our second Phantom Neshoba. So now Shane with 2 7/7s that have life-gaining ability. And we have found a Plains as well. So David with those squirrels could chump those Neshobas for a month. Alright, here comes 2 mana for Sylvan Library. So Shane opting to try and get some card selection online. And here comes Seal of Cleansing as well. And here comes Neshoba in for 7. David opting to chump block that. So Shane going to gain some life here. One squirrel is no longer with us. Or perhaps he returned it to his hand with the symbiote to prevent the life gain. It's hard to tell. I believe there is a die just off screen notating the life change. So I think that Shane is in fact at 27. We're going to attempt to Swords to Plowshares the Wirewood symbiote. So David's going to untap Priest of Titania here, returning Deranged Hermit to his hand. Seal of Cleansing is going to take out the Survival of the Fittest. So David untaps here. Can he finish this game? Got a couple of decisions to make here. So Priest going to add 3 mana here. 6 mana. Here comes Deranged Hermit for a second round. So that's going to give him access to 7 squirrels total. Here comes Acolyte to draw a card. He finds another forest. Cradle's going to tap for exactly 1 billion mana. And there's Biorhythm. Wow. Okay, so Shane's going to go to 2 life. David's going to attack for 1 trillion damage. But I don't think that Shane is going to be able to block enough to stay afloat. So here comes the army, and I think that is likely going to do it. That's 14 damage alone just in the squirrels. Shane can only go up to 9, I think. So that is going to do it, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us through these 2 games. It has been brutal. Hard-fought match. Congratulations to both these players and David on the win. If you like this kind of content, please consider a like and a subscribe. It's free and it helps our channel. Please feel free to share this on other platforms as well. And check out our friend Joe over at the Orb MTG for old school content. He does a wonderful job with old school formats of various kinds. And if you're ever in the Western Kentucky region, please consider stopping in at Dragon's Den at Eddyville, Kentucky, and tell them that your friends over at Old Frames Gaming sent you. They're an amazing group of guys over there, and you're sure to find a game that you're going to love. Everything from Dungeons & Dragons to Flesh and Blood, even retro video gaming. Also, while I am thinking about it, our channel at the time of this recording has 88 subscribers. We are on our way to 100, and it would be great if you could share this content. Help me get to 100 as soon as possible. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. As always, I appreciate your viewership. We will catch up with you in the next round.